Today, we're doing something old school, we're checking receipts. Because, as Proverbs says, the first to plead his case seems right until another comes and examines him. Proverbs 18:17. Barred. Trump on Hannity dropped big claims. Iran warnings cartels 97% and Cuba Venezuela. Let's separate what was said from what can be shown. Stay until the end for the extra. On Iran, Reuters reports Trump warned there would be hell to pay if Iran cracked down, and he said, "You better not start shooting because we'll start shooting too." In the Hannity interview context, Reuters also notes he referenced protesters being stomped on and security forces shooting the hell out of people in the past. Fact check. This isn't a true-false claim, it's a threat position statement. The checkable part is whether he said it. Multiple outlets report those quotes. Trump said the cartels are killing 250,000 to 300,000 in our country every single year. In context, he's talking about drug deaths. That was a lie. Here's the problem. CDC provisional overdose data is far below that. One CDC release reported an estimated 80,000 overdose deaths in 2024, down from prior years. And the CDC's provisional overdose dashboard shows totals well under 150,000, even with revisions. 250K, 300K is not rounding. That's a different universe. It's sure. Trump said, "We've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water," and referenced boats that we shot down. Yes, there have been reports and investigations about U.S. strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean, and major debate about legality and evidence standards, but the 97% number has a huge issue. He doesn't define which drugs, what time period, or what measurement. Weight, value, incidence. Public data does not cleanly support a 97% knocked out claim. Also, the biggest U.S. overdose driver, fentanyl, is widely reported as primarily trafficked through land ports of entry, not by speedboat fleets. Verdict. Unsubstantiated, unbindsten, onuburains, quai misleading statistic, and yes, 97% sounds like a number that was born in a headline, not in a spreadsheet. In other words, more of Trump lies. On Hannity, Trump said Cuba totally relies on Venezuela for money and oil. Reuters reports Venezuela was Cuba's largest oil supplier last year, citing about 26,500 barrels a day of crude and fuel shipped, while Mexico has been emerging as an alternative supplier. Verdict. Oil reliance. Broadly supported, Venezuela has been the biggest supplier. Money, plus, totally relies. Overstated, Cuba also sources fuel elsewhere, and totally is absolute language. Trump touted Venezuela, agreeing to release political prisoners. Reuters reporting says rights groups counted 18 released, while an NGO, Foro Penal, cited 801 political prisoners remaining, and there's no comprehensive public list of who will be freed. Verdict. Premature, misleading. Some releases happened. All is not supported. That was a lie. Scripture says, "Test everything, hold fast what is good." 1 Thessalonians 5:21. So here's the clean wrap. Quotes can be accurate while numbers can be wildly wrong. Here's the extra. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, delivered a warning to the United States as protests driven by economic hardship continue to spread across the country. In remarks carried by Iranian state media and delivered during a public interaction with supporters, Khamenei accused Washington of orchestrating the unrest and said that leaders who rule with arrogance inevitably face collapse. The Iranian leader also posted a series of statements on his X account. Referring directly to the U.S. President Donald Trump, Khamenei said that tyrants and arrogant rulers throughout history had met their downfall at the height of their power. The U.S. president who judges arrogantly about the whole world should know that tyrants and arrogant rulers of the world, such as Pharaoh, Nimrod, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, and other such rulers, saw their downfall when they were at the peak of their hubris, he said. Foreign interference allegations. In his address, Khamenei repeatedly accused the United States of encouraging unrest inside Iran. He said that some protesters were acting not out of genuine grievance, but to win favor with Washington. There are also those whose work is destruction, he said, referring to incidents of vandalism reported in Tehran and other cities. Last night in Tehran, and in some other places, a bunch of vandals came and destroyed a building belonging to their own country. He claimed that such actions were designed to please the US president, who, Khamenei said, had made irrelevant nonsense statements suggesting that Washington would side with demonstrators if the Iranian government acted against them. These people have their hopes pinned on him, he said. If he can, let him manage his own country. In his own country, various incidents are occurring. Khamenei went further, describing Trump as a despot, a ruler or other person who holds absolute power, typically one who exercises it in a cruel or oppressive way, and warning that history showed such figures were often removed at the height of their pride. Our nation does not tolerate mercenaryism for foreigners, he said. Whoever you may be, once you become a mercenary for a foreigner, once you work for a foreigner, the nation considers you rejected. He added that despots and arrogant powers, including Iran's former monarch, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, had been overthrown when they appeared strongest. This one will be overthrown as well, he said in an apparent reference to the US president. Trump has, in recent days, issued a series of public warnings to Iran's leadership. Speaking in an interview with Sean Hannity on Fox News, he said the United States would intervene if Iranian authorities used lethal force against protesters. If they do anything bad to these people, we're going to hit them very hard, he said, repeating a warning he had previously issued on social media. In Trump's Hannity interview, through John 8, 2026, and in remarks right after, his Iran message boiled down to a public "don't you dare" warning aimed at Tehran during the protests. He said Iran's leaders would face hell to pay if they cracked down on protesters. He described past crackdowns in blunt terms on air, e.g., crowds being stomped on, and security forces shooting the hell out of people. The next day, he set a clearer red line publicly. If the regime starts shooting, killing protesters, the US would respond, reported, quote, "You better not start shooting because we'll start shooting too." He also posted that the US stands ready to help Iranians seeking freedom. At the same time, he signaled he's not yet picking an opposition leader, saying he wasn't inclined to meet Reza Pahlavi right now and wanted to see who emerges. Separate but related, Reuters also notes he referenced having bombed Iranian nuclear facilities last June and warned he's prepared to do so again if Iran tries to rebuild the program. Protests intensify. According to the Institute for the Study of War, protest activity has increased both in frequency and magnitude since January 7th, including in Tehran and in parts of northwestern Iran. The think tank said the authorities had intensified their crackdown, including by taking the rare step of deploying Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps ground forces to suppress demonstrations in at least one province. Iranian state television has shown images of security forces confronting crowds, while online videos, many of which cannot be independently verified, appear to show protesters blocking roads and chanting slogans such as "Death to the Dictator" and "Iranians, raise your voice, shout out for your rights." On Thursday, as demonstrations grew, Iran experienced a widespread internet blackout, limiting access to social media platforms that protesters have used to organize and share information. Why are Iranians protesting? Iran's economy has been under sustained pressure for years, largely because of US and European sanctions linked to its nuclear program. That strain has been compounded by regional tensions, including a 12-day war with Israel last June, which further drained state resources. Iran's currency has fallen sharply, losing roughly half its value against the US dollar in 2025. Official figures show that inflation exceeded 42% in December alone. The impact has been particularly severe for import-dependent businesses and households already struggling with rising prices. Like, subscribe if you want part 2, pulling the full transcript clips and checking every claim line by line. Drop the timestamp you want in the comments.